everybody, it is Tony George from DocSports.com. The 2023 WNBA season is upon us. I couldn't be more excited. I'm fired up. You want to know why? Right there. Oh, the other guy. That way. Tim Fynes.
That way, this way.
Yeah. Tim Fynes, my WNBA handicapper, lead capper. He is the only guy in 32 years of me professionally handicapping sports where I have some staff cappers that come on board and we collaborate and different things. But I make the final calls. I call the shots. I'm the one that's going to take the heat if they lose. I'm also the one that'll grab all the glory if they win. But I've never handed the reins over to any other lead analyst that worked underneath of me in all my years until Tim last year in the WNBA. What'd he do?
Thank you.
He went 64.3% for the season and crushed top plays of over 4 units over at Docs. And Tim also helps me out a little bit. We kind of got a 50-50 collaboration going on in college basketball as he covers the, and many of you watched the podcast that we did during the college basketball season of the small conferences. But Tim, first of all, welcome back. How's your summer going?
So far, it's going great, Tony. Thanks for having me, man. It was an honor to be on last time. Always super excited anytime I can contribute, man. So thanks for having me on.
Well, the nice thing about what I do, and people sometimes will ask me, even other handicappers, I had a lunch not too long ago here in Las Vegas with a bunch of guys that everybody knows. Not all of them they weren't at Docs, but guys have been in the business I've known for 25, 30 years. And
sure.
They said, man, why do you broadcast that you are have a guy doing picks for you in a certain sport? And I said, well, I'll tell you why. Right now I've got NBA, NHL. I'm looking ahead to college football. I've already watched like 30 spring games.
Sure.
I've got Major League Baseball going on. I've got PGA and I've got NASCAR. So I'm spread thin. And when I'm spread thin like that, to be able to give somebody a quality product requires some help from a time allotment standpoint. And they all kind of got it. But
sure.
Nonetheless, so I haven't done a lot of legwork on the WNBA, Tim. The only thing I can tell you is living out here in Las Vegas, I know
got the
that
best team.
we had the best team last year. We're projected to be, if there was for those of you that don't follow a lot of the NBA, the preseason polls have them number one. They have the best coach in the WNBA. However, the big news is Becky Hammond suspended for a couple of games.
Lost the 2025 pick there. Yeah.
Yeah, lost a 2025 draft pick. Also involving the Las Vegas Aces is Tom Brady has bought part of the team out here in Las Vegas. So there's a lot of news about that, Tim.
Yes, there is. He went to a game last year. And Kelsey Plum went up to him. I'm sure you saw the clip, and Kelsey Plum just, she has that dog mentality, Kelsey Plum. And I think it kind of stemmed from there. I know for a fact it did. It stemmed from there, and they had a relationship and continued talking. And, as you know me, Tony, I'm an Atlantic City guy. Always being an Atlantic City guy. I'm Atlantic City through and through. But what's going on in Vegas? You live there. It has to be so exciting. I mean, look what the Aces are doing. Look what your hockey team just did. I mean, we're getting an NFL team. You have an NFL team now. You might have a Major League Baseball team coming. Must be a good time to live in Las Vegas and be a sports fan. Forget about sports betting for a minute. Just living there, being a fan.
Well, last season the Aces led the league in points per game, field goal percentage, and offensive rating. And
they were so good.
And I thought Hammond did a nice job of kind of expanding their perimeter game a little bit. And so I guess, if you look, and these numbers change all the time, but headed into the season, and then these numbers change all the time. And I know
They
you sent
changed.
me a text this morning, but Las Vegas
They
was plus 115 and New York Liberty plus 125. The Mystics then plus 1400 and the Phoenix Mercury plus 2500. But what that tells you, no matter what the numbers are, is they think this is a 2-horse race between New York and Las Vegas. I'm sure you've got some sleepers in there, Tim.
I do, and it's so hard. One thing that really I had to laugh at, as a sports handicapper, I'm just going to throw this out there, and this is up to the date, and I mean literally, because I'm looking at, I got 3 different devices in front of me, 4 if you count my MacBook, right? You said the Las Vegas Aces were plus 15, right? This is how often this changes. This morning when I sent you that text, that was wholeheartedly true, 110%, right? As of right now, the WNBA futures market has now changed. Las Vegas Aces plus to win the whole thing, take home the championship. Las Vegas Aces plus 120. The New York Liberty plus 120. For the first time in the history of the WNBA, let me repeat that. For the first time in the history of the WNBA, we have 2 teams that there's nothing separating them. Maybe at least as far as the odds makers. I have my own opinion. But as far as the odds makers, we have plus 120, plus 120, plus 1,400, and then plus 2,400. I mean, and then you look across the board from teams 4 all the way down to 12, we have plus 3,500 to plus 8,300. So, as I told you before in that 8-unit futures play that we have, I believe it's posted on the website already. I checked it out the other day. I'm not going to talk much about that one, obviously. You want that one, go to the website. If you've never been a member before, I know the drill. We'll park $60 in your account. If you've never been a member, use it towards that. We have a futures play on that. But here's one thing I wanted to mention, Tony. Think about this for a minute as a sports handicapper. Put your handicapper hat on, and I know it's always on for you, but the Las Vegas and Aces to make the WNBA finals, both of them right together, minus 190. Any other matchup, plus 260. The Aces or the Liberty to win the 2023 WNBA, minus 900.
Yeah.
Minus 900. I have never seen anything like that.
Yeah, and bear in mind, folks, for those of you, and by the way, you don't like the WNBA?
Excuse me.
You don't like NASCAR? You don't like golf, PGA? You don't like watching them? Who cares? You like money?
Sure.
Because that's all you got to do is bet these things. And
Absolutely.
the WNBA has about a 30 game season?
We were 32, 36, and this year with the Commissioner's Cup, we're at the first year we're at 40 games.
Yep. So it's half of what the NBA regular season is, guys and gals.
And it feels a lot less than that too,
Right. So let's just say both these guys are minus 120 to win it all. What is the separation between the two? Because in any sport, I don't care how talented your roster is. And I can tell you this right now, just even in layman's terms, as I obviously follow the sport, read up on it. I let you do all the in-depth analysis and stuff. But I got to tell you, the New York Liberty have as talented a roster, if not one of the most talented rosters in all the WNBA, Tim.
Yeah, they're ridiculously talented. It really pisses me off, Tony, and angers me a little bit because how much, and you know this more than anybody, how much was I on the Liberty last year, and how much money did we make on the Liberty last year?
Yeah,
that is not going to happen again this year because those lines are going to be so jacked up. So the first thing I thought of, and you know me, Tony, I think you ever watch that show in the morning on MSNBC where it does like the China futures market, right? Like the money market.
Tim, I don't want to tip my hand politically, but I don't watch a lot of MSNBC.
hey, listen, neither do I actually, believe it or not. But that particular show, I think even Fox and CNN, I think they all carry it. The futures market, I think, is such a big part of the WNBA is following, and you and I have talked about this off air, right? Is following kind of that overseas market, and following what, we don't have to get into Brittany Griner and what happened. And, I'm thrilled she's back, thrilled she's back home on American soil. But a lot of these women go overseas, and a lot of their overseas contracts extend. And you know this because we talked about it off air. They extend until maybe like the 5th, sometimes even 10th or 11th game. So you really have to follow the overseas market. The Minnesota Lynx are notorious for getting off. Head coach Cheryl Reeves, shout out to LaSalle University. She's a former Explorer here from Philadelphia. She coaches the Minnesota Lynx, and every year they have at least, last year they had, if I'm not mistaken, 3. They had 3 starters last year who did not start a single game until game 12. So if we're talking about, and I'm not trying to change gears real quick, but if we're talking about season win totals on them, they are actually, the Minnesota Lynx are at 16.5 at minus 120. You might want to lean on the under on that one, and we'll get into that later. But just real quick while we're talking about it, 16.5, the Minnesota Lynx. I would go under at the plus 110 because they don't get 3 players back until about 10 games into the season. And like you said, it's not the NBA where you have all these games to recover, or Major League Baseball where you get in the dog days of summer. The WNBA season may only be 40 games plus the Commissioner's Cup, or with the Commissioner's Cup. You don't have much time to recover. So if you get into a hole early, it is very, very hard to get out. Now this year, I don't know so much with it being so top heavy with obviously the Aces and the Liberty.
Yeah, I'm curious. I guess everybody wants to know. You brought it up. One of the biggest stories in the country was Brittany Griner, and trying to. It's just not a real good idea to have hash oil on you at an airport security checkpoint anywhere overseas.
No, it is not.
And
no,
so,
especially not in Russia.
She paid the ultimate price. But last year, obviously Phoenix struggled without her, and of course Skylar Diggins-Smith, was pregnant. And she's going to be missing part of the 2023 season as well. The Mercury
pregnant again.
Yeah, they made the playoffs for the 10th straight season last year. Many people have these guys third or fourth, mainly fourth. How big of an impact is Brittany Griner going to have with these guys this year? Because she's not a youngster either.
She's not, and I think you have to worry. We always talk about the first. Don't expect us, and this is true for what you and I normally typically, when we team up and do tandem together here. Don't expect us to be going crazy out of the gate here with 6-unit plays, 7-unit plays, 8-unit plays.
No.
We're gonna take it. We're gonna kind of be like, especially for the first 2 weeks. We're gonna try to. We don't want to kill you. We want to hurt you with 100 different paper cuts. We're gonna try to throw a bunch of paper cuts at you with smaller plays and win. I had the Phoenix Mercury at number 4, but I'll tell you what, the Atlanta Dream, and I'll get into the Dream later. I absolutely love the Atlanta Dream this year. I think they're gonna really, really surprise some people. But to answer your question, Brittany Griner, I am more worried about, and I'm sure everybody is, and I'm probably stating the obvious here. I am worried about her psyche going into the season. Has she had enough time to seek out what I hope would be professional help? Has she had enough time to get her mind right? I'll tell you this, and I have not missed a single preseason game, not one. And every time I look at her, she's laughing, she's smiling, she's having a good time. My question is, and I'm not knocking Brittany, I'm so happy she's back, but is that smile a facade? Is she just kind of smiling to hide the tears? Is she really just that happy to be back? So I think it could really go either way. But I'm certainly more concerned about Diggins being out. I like the fact that Sophia Cunningham can step up in a place. I don't know, Tony. I wish I could answer. I think it's going to be a really big question mark, and I think we're going to take until about 10 to 12 games into the season to really figure out the answer to that question. And Diana Taurasi, by the way, she's no spring chicken. She's in her 40s, and she's not just in her 40s. She has a lot of miles on her legs. So it's just if this were a typical WNBA season, they'd probably be right around that 6, maybe even 7 spot. But because we look at the Wings, the Lynx, the Sparks, the Storm, the Fever, they're so bad. I think they can actually slide in that 4 spot if things work out in their favor.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and I always think that's the nice thing about having a 40-game season is that you and I can kick back and see how things shake out the first couple of weeks. And anybody who's followed me for 30 years plus years, anybody that's followed me since I've been at Docs, I'm very slow out of the gate. You know, you want teams to there's a lot there's the same faces at different places in some cases every year. You want to see how that chemistry develops and what teams and this is something I always look at no matter what sport it is, what teams understand what their identity is early. And that's what they play to. Whether it's basketball, football, whatever it is, you know. So that being said, let's talk about some under the radar teams you might think that are going to be a lot better than let's say your sleepers this year, for instance.
You know, it's hard to put a third place. I have them power rank preseason number 3. It's hard to call the Washington Mystics a sleeper, but when the books across the country are giving you the Washington Mystics between plus 1,300 and plus 1,600, if I'm putting a futures bet in, I'm darn sure going to put it in on the Mystics at plus 14, maybe plus, I've seen a 1,600, but they're few and far between. The consensus here is plus 1,400 for the Washington Mystics. And the Atlanta Dream, I love what the Dream did this offseason. So my 2 sleepers, and I know the Mystics number 3, it's hard to call them a sleeper. My ultimate sleeper here is the Atlanta Dream plus 4,200. I really like what they've done. I think they're going to really, really, really surprise some teams. And I think when you look at everything that's going on, we already know about the Aces, we know about the Liberty. I think we'll see Washington challenge Vegas. I think we'll see Washington challenge New York, and I think we'll see Phoenix hopefully challenge Las Vegas. But come September, don't forget I said this, man. Keep an eye out for the Atlanta Dream. I think they're gonna. You and I talk a lot about NASCAR, right? Darlington just happened. What do you do in Darlington? You hang out in the back of the pack. Look what William Byron did, right? Hang out in the back, let them all wreck and go. I think that's what we're going to see. I think that's what we're going to see the Atlanta Dream do. I think they're going to hang out for a little bit, keep their heads above water, and then I think all of a sudden, I think they're going to turn on the Jets. And I would be shocked. Bold statement here. I would be shocked if they're not in the semifinals this year. I really would. I think they've done enough. They kind of did the opposite. Remember, 2 years ago, the Atlanta Dream and the Indiana Fever were on the exact same page. Well, if I'm the Fever, I'm looking at what the heck the Dream did as a GM, because they're now sitting pretty, and the Fever are going to fever. I mean, that's just the way it is. Aaliyah Boston or no Aaliyah Boston. I love the Atlanta Dream, man. My sleeper pick of the year, hands down, not even close.
What's the season win total on them?
Season win total on them, I want to say that it's
because while you're looking that up, I just want you to know that
the Dream I want to say is 21 or 19 and a half. 19 and a half.
Yeah, they had the Rookie of the Year last year in Howard.
Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ryan Howard is an absolute stud. She is a top 5, in my opinion, player in this league. And if we look at WNBA races, she is listed ahead. Here are the players Ryan Howard is listed ahead of to win the WMVP. She's listed ahead of Kala Copper. You know how much I love her from the Chicago Sky. Mm-hmm. Another team I think is going to do really well. She's listed ahead of Candace Parker. She's listed ahead of Jonquel Jones. She's listed ahead of Elise Thompson, Brittany Griner. Ryan Howard is really, really good.
Yeah, and they got the number 6 pick overall on Haley Jones this year. And I'll tell you the other thing about them. Tanisha Wright's no joke at head coach.
She's not. She's excellent.
She finished second last year behind Becky Hammond of Vegas, who obviously won the whole thing. And then they picked up Alicia Gray in the offseason.
Huge addition. And I think
Yeah,
that was so
good
overshadowed.
defensive player. Yeah.
Great defensive player. And that was so overshadowed by what Las Vegas, you know what? Everything was overshadowed by what Las Vegas and New York did, right? But they picked her up. They made some good moves. I really was not, if we're talking about rookies real quick, just to touch upon it, Tony, I was really not that impressed this year. I thought this was just my opinion here. I could be wrong. Charles Barkley had a book. I may be wrong, but I doubt it. I don't know if I may be wrong, but I doubt it. But I'll tell you what, I really was not impressed with this year's rookie class. I think next year you're going to see, with Angel Reese out of LSU and Caitlin Clark out of Iowa, that's going to be a heck of a draft. Yeah. You got I mean, if you get the number one pick, you got some serious thinking to do on who to take there, that draft's going to be loaded. I thought this was a really, really weak draft. So I wouldn't put too much stock to the betting public out there watching this. I wouldn't put too much stock in any WNBA rookies this year. I really, really do not like the field. I thought, again, just in my opinion, I thought this was the worst draft talent-wise in about 12 years.
Yeah, Reese and Clark, LSU and the Iowa, those two gals there brought in almost 7 or 8 million viewers in college in that women's finals game, and they're going to bring some eyeballs into the WNBA. They're licking their chops to get those two in there. And one thing I did want to tell you is, and because I've done, Tim, contrary to popular belief, I have done a little bit of research, and I will tell you that the markets out here and people I've talked to are a lot higher on the Connecticut Sun than you are. Many have them in fourth place. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on the Sun.
They do. They have them. You know what? I've seen them as high as fourth. I've seen them, and I'll tell you what, I've seen them no lower than fifth. I don't think you can lose a point guard like Courtney Williams. I don't think you can lose a 2-time ex-MVP and a 5-time first-team All-NBA player like Jonquel Jones and not have a fall off. Because let's think for a minute, even if those players are back, you're not beating the Aces, you're not beating the Liberty, you're not beating the Mystics. So and I agree with you. I've looked at every book just like you have. I am shocked on how high the Suns are. And I think there is and listen, they could finish fourth, they could finish fifth, but I see the Dream finishing ahead of them. I think the Sky have a shot. I think the Wings have a shot. The Mercury, the Mystics will definitely finish ahead of them, again, in my opinion. I just don't think you'll lose 2 caliber players like that. And think about the teams who they lost them to. Those teams just get better. I would lean. I think that the total on that, I believe, I'm looking it up. I want to say it's somewhere around 22 and a half. I'm sorry. Over under 22 and a half. Over 22 and a half is minus 120. Under 22 and a half total wins plus 110. I'll take the under 22 and a half all day long on the Connecticut Sun. I know I'm in the minority, but I look at this roster and it goes back to what you and I talked about a couple of days ago. Where do these wins come from? Somebody's got to win basketball games, right? I just don't see it being the Connecticut Sun this year. I don't think people realize how good Courtney Williams was for them. Everybody knows Jonquel Jones just plugged up the lane and did everything for them defensively and also contributed 20 points on offense. I really, really am big time off the Connecticut Sun bandwagon. No, it's a no-go for me.
You also were in the minority going 64% against the spread for the season last year. So,
thank you, man. Appreciate that.
You got to tune in. And by the way, folks, just so you know, we do have our 8-unit futures pick of the year up over at DocSports.com. You can get that for free. We got a free $60. Link in the description below. Just open it up. It's hassle free. No one's,
Yep.
There's no strings attached. Well, if you've never been a member at Docs, 95% of the stuff on the website's free, and it all helps you make better decisions. We've got write-ups on everything, including the WNBA, not from Tim, but from other guys. Well, Tim sent me some nice stuff today. We'll probably put up over there, but at the end of the day, you can go get that pick. I think they're $25 or $30 for futures picks. It's an 8-unit pick. It's a pick of the year. It's the only futures pick we're putting up. You can get it for free by using that link in the description below. And of course, the season tips on on Friday. The Washington Mystics. Is there really that much of a difference between them and New York and Las Vegas? And let me remind you, and I don't need to, the Washington Mystics are the only team that swept Las Vegas last year. When you look at these odds to win the NBA championship, it looks like they're night and day beyond Las Vegas and New York. Tim, your thoughts on that? You think those numbers are off a little bit? Because this is a team that can beat damn near anybody.
Yeah, I'll answer in two parts.
Yeah.
There's so much focus has been on, obviously, Las Vegas and New York, rightfully so. Do I think that they have a chance? And I don't mean too much disrespect. I'm going to disrespect them, but I'm going to bring them back up in my next comment. Do I think that they have a chance? Do I think they're on? I shouldn't say do I think they have a chance. Anybody has a chance here. Okay, this is sports after all. Look what Florida Atlantic did. I mean, making to the Final Four. So, and this is exactly. So this is professional basketball. I don't think the Mystics have enough. I always worry about, Elena Delle Donne supposedly, and from what I've seen, I told you I've watched every preseason game. From what I've seen, Tony, in the preseason, she's back. She's back, man. And she's back healthier than I've seen her probably since she won the championship in 2018. So that's scary. Okay?
Yeah.
Do I think that the Washington Mystics are on the same level? Absolutely not. Do I think they should be plus 14 to plus 1,600? Also, absolutely not. Yeah. So, I mean, you got to remember.
Plus 120. You go from plus 120 to plus 14 to plus 1,400 between second and third place. I mean,
unbelievable.
And then, they got Phoenix at plus 2,500. These are Vegas odds, and they're not fresh, but they're in there a little bit. But there's so many question marks surrounding Phoenix right now because I don't know what the Griner effect's going to be. And in a 40-game season, if it takes you 10 games to adjust to get your crap together, for lack of a better term, and get your chemistry solidified, that'll slip you out of fourth place real quick. But I just thought the dichotomy between plus 120 and plus 1,400 for a team like Washington that has proven they can hang with the best teams in the league, because they swept Vegas last year and nobody else did that. I mean, that just raises my eyebrow.
Nobody else did that. And, we have Elena Delle Donne. Don't forget about Alicia Clark. Alicia Clark's a baller. She's a baller. And Elizabeth Williams, there's another name. Elizabeth Williams is really, really good. She can guard. I don't want to say she can guard 1 through 5. She could if it's a little bit smaller 5, but she can guard she can guard everybody on the perimeter. For her size, she gets down low, she bangs. And I know we talked about, I kind of bashed the rookie class this year, and I get that, and rightfully so. But I think bringing in somebody like Brittany Sykes to go along with Alicia Clark, to go along with Elena Delle Donne, I mean, like I said, do I think they're on the Aces and Liberties level? Absolutely not. Do I think they should be plus 114? Again, also absolutely not. If you're going to take a flyer out on anybody in terms of the futures market, I genuinely believe you should take it out in order. Mystics. I know I'm going to get some hate for this. Atlanta Dream. I do. I love that team. You know what, Tony? The Atlanta Dream, they are my 2022 New York Liberty. And you know how well we did on them last year. So watch out for that. You're gonna see a lot of times your email is gonna be buzzing in at 7:00 in the morning, sometimes 5:00 Eastern Standard Time out here in Atlantic City, and you're gonna be like, oh, Tim and his freaking Atlanta Dream this year, you know. But just watch, man. They're gonna win a lot of games. But yeah, man, the Mystics and they're well coached. I want to say it's 24.5 is their total, but it has moved a little bit. What is the win total? I said 24.5. Yeah, it is. It's actually 24.5, and it's actually right at 110. I would lean over just because I think, when you get, like you said, they swept them last year, the Aces, right? They also have they're a little bit similar to Chicago, not in the talent wise, but in terms of that favorable Commissioner's Cup that you and I talked about. They're a little bit similar to that. They have a favorable Commissioner's Cup schedule. Shakira Austin's another person I didn't mention. I mean, they're pretty good. The question for me is the same question since they won the championship in 2018. Can Elena Delle Donne stay healthy? I'm not talking about her back. I'm not talking about her ACL. I'm talking about a genuine issue that she has, with Lyme disease and everything like that. I have a ton of empathy for her. I do.
Yeah.
But can she stay healthy? And again, it's not. She actually doesn't have. People remember she had offers from UConn, from LSU, from Tennessee when Pat Summitt was there, right before Pat Summitt, God rest her soul, right? And she went to the University of Delaware. Elena Delle Donne, for her age and her size, she doesn't have a ton of. We just talked about 15, 20 minutes ago about how DT, Diana Taurasi, who in my opinion is the GOAT. She's the GOAT. I know some think Sue Bird, this and that. DT's the GOAT. Yeah. Elena Delle Donne does not have as many miles on her legs as you'd think she would for her age because of what she's dealt with on the injury front. So I like them. I really do. I'll tell you what. With Elizabeth Williams, with Alicia Clark, with Elena Delle Donne, if she stays healthy, I damn sure like them at plus 1,400.
Yeah, and I guess I got a DM over at Twitter. If those of you want to follow me, it's at TGeorgeSports. Over there on Twitter, I got a DM from a interested. I put up a post today about we're going to have this show. It'll be up later today. Be sure and tune in. And he lives in Seattle. And he said, it's a new era in Seattle. Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart are gone. How far, Tim? And he asked me what your thoughts would be. They have a season win total of 14.5. My question to you is, how far are the Mighty going to fall in Seattle?
Very.
Yeah.
Listen, Tony, you know me, man. I can talk. I got one word: very. The thing they have
14.5. 14.5. Look, he says he wanted your take before he put a bet on it. He said it's probably going to hover around that number, but he thinks. And I believe they have a new coach. Do they get a new coach too? Or who's the coach there?
They have the one thing they have going for them. I mean,
is the coach right?
Yeah. And the thing with the Seattle Storm, you have Jewell Loyd.
Yeah, I couldn't think of it. Yeah.
So and also remember the one thing they did that I thought was first of all, nothing's going to soften the blow for first of all, let's not all due respect to your Twitter fan and your follower, and I'm sure he's a great guy, and I'm just telling him the truth here. The one thing that Seattle, I mean, the Kraken had a heck of a run, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's the Mariners are having a pretty good year here. Mariners just lost Robbie Ray, and their pitching staff is even pitching even better right now.
Yeah.
But right, I mean, who would
Yeah.
have thought that?
Yeah. No
So
kidding.
I don't feel, and I know I'm going to get some Seattle haters here. I don't feel too bad for the people of Seattle, but you know, Kia Nurse is going to have a massive year for Seattle. Gabby Williams came over from Minnesota, so Gabby Williams is going to have a big year. So if you look at Jewel Lloyd, if you look at Kia Nurse, and you look at Gabby Williams, I don't know if they're going to fall as much as everybody in the world thinks, but they are in for a very, 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 very big downfall this year compared
Yeah.
to what they're used to, because they're used to competing. Let's put it forward for the past. I don't want to go over. I try not to traffic in overstatements, Tony, but for the past 8 years to a decade, they have been competing for championships. I'm not saying they've won every one. I'm not saying they've been there every year, but they have competed. Their goal for the past 10 years has to win a championship. You can take that goal and throw it right out the window.
Say, I got a question for you too as we're starting to wrap this up. Your thoughts on the Los Angeles Sparks? They've basically cleaned house. Even in the front office, you know, a lot of people follow them out here along with the Aces. You hear a lot about, you got a lot
Sure.
of fans of them out here. They're bringing in a new coach. The roster is basically going to be new. How long before you think it takes them a while to get cooking?
You know, it's funny,
Well,
Tony.
it
'Cause I
might
have
be a minute. It might be a
it,
minute or two. Might be a fade
it,
team out of the gate.
it might be a fade team out of the gate. They do have Nikki and Shabina Abumake back.
Yeah.
So what you're hoping on here, I think Stevens has to show up. Jasmine Thomas has to show up, and I think the key here is really going to be D'Arcia Hamby. I think if she can play well and she can complement the sisters, I put a little asterisk next to this win total if you look at my notes, because here we're gonna go real quick in order. And this is just me. And I'm sorry, this is not me. This is actually the books. Aces, Liberty, Mystics, Mercury, Sun, Wings, Dream, and as you know, I think the Dream should be way higher. Lynx,
Yep.
Sparks. If you look at the Mercury, which is number 2, and there's 12 teams in the WNBA, if you look at the Mercury, who is number 2, well, even the Mystics at plus 1,400 or plus 1,600, wherever you can find them. Let's go from the Mercury, which is number 4, and let's go all the way down to the Fever, who are just,
Terrible.
God help them, yeah. And
Every league has to have a bottom feeder.
Every league has to have a bottom feeder, and unfortunately, I think the Storm are going to be right. I mean, they are just they're again, man, they're not good, But
Yeah.
I think that when you circle teams 4, let's cross out the Fever and pretend there. This sounds bad, but let's cross out the Fever and pretend there's 11 teams in the WNBA. Okay,
Yeah.
so now let's also cross out the Aces and the Liberty.
Yeah.
If you look at the Mystics and the Mercury, I get it. But if you do the Connecticut Sun, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 7 teams left. I genuinely think the Sparks can finish, and the odds will tell you that, from plus 33 to plus 5,000. So from plus 3,300 to plus 5,000, I think the LA Sparks can finish anywhere between 1 in terms of that 7 we talked about to 7. So it's going to be a very interesting year in terms of handicapping that after the Aces, after the Liberty, after the Mystics, it's gonna be fun. I don't want to say fun. It's never fun for me. When you have your clients' money on this game, you and I both know there's nothing fun about watching a game. And I have to watch the game because you're laughing already. Tony, it's not fun. Nothing about this is fun. I was watching.
I will text Tim stuff mid-game. Tim knows what I'm doing in all my sports. Obviously, I share information with him, and especially NASCAR. which was
Oh,
frustrating last week. We won't get into it. This is a
oh,
WNBA
I
podcast,
know, I
but
know, I know. But you know how much I
but
love NASCAR.
if anybody wants this job, I had some guy email me the other day wanting to get into the business and wanting me to. He was willing to give me money to mentor him. I said, you know what? Save all your money, do something
Do
different, go
something
a different
else.
direction, because it's not what you think it is.
It's not.
Now, the
It's
guys that are on the 1-800 can't lose numbers that just throw that sell you picks and scam you,
sure.
they don't care
And
because they don't even watch the games. They're out at the strip
yeah, and
joint
they
doing
and
whatever. But
they'll give you also those people, right? They'll
yeah,
give you say Las Vegas is playing New York and it's a pick 'em. All right, it's in the Commissioner's Cup. It's at a neutral site, so there's no -3 for home court advantage, right? Let's say
right,
it's a
right,
pick 'em. They'll give you the 800 numbers. Half the clients will get the aces. Half the
yep,
clients will get the Liberty. So
yep,
half the clients come away happy. Half come away with, oh, we'll get you back next time.
yeah, yeah,
That's the one
yeah.
thing
You're not.
about Docs. Yeah, Doc Sports is you want to see what we do? Go to the website, click. You can see everything we do.
Yeah,
Everything. So
that's
we're transparent as can be here at Doc Sports.
yeah. We are, and we're looking forward to a good season. The one thing I will tell you, folks that are watching this, is the WNBA is much like NASCAR. It's extremely volatile because
Mm,
there's not a lot of mutual handle in the sport. So somebody comes in with a dime
it's
bet
true.
or a two dime bet,
It
whether it be
moves.
one of the globals or a big app like DraftKings or FanDuel, even locally here in town at a place like Stations, for instance, that has more of a reaction to a big bet than almost any book in town,
Or
in
a place
terms of
like an Atlantic,
moving the
or
lines.
a place like Atlantic City in the Borgata. I
Yeah,
got to give a shout out to my favorite sports book.
yeah. There you go, out there at AC where Tim
Yeah,
lives. So when we put these picks out in the morning at 8:30 a.m. I think we're putting them out at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, if I'm not mistaken. I think we bumped that up an hour because it's tough to get opening lines. And
very,
then
very.
we'll do a write-up at 8:30 in the morning at -3, and by 9:30, release a pick, it's up to -5.5 or 6. I have seen 6 or 7 point line swings on a total in 2 hours. And I've
Like
seen
that.
4 or 5 point line swings on a side in a half a day. So when we get these picks out in the morning, you've got to get on them out of the gate, especially with sharps like Tim identify weak lines. And then you have somebody like me with a large following across the country. I'm not bragging, I'm just stating the fact
Sure.
that you may have 100 people all of a sudden at 9:35 a.m. Pacific start hitting FanDuel and DraftKings for $3 or $4 or $500 or even a dime out of the blue on a WNBA side or total that we have out. They are going to move that line
Very quickly.
because they've been exposed and they want to get money back the other way to balance the action on the book. They don't care if I win 1,000 and Tim loses 1,000. As long as I win and he loses, they're getting their rake. They're getting
Sure.
their VIG. They're getting their 10%.
They're getting
That's
the big
all
and
books are
10%.
trying to do they're trying to influence wagers coming back against a weak position. So that's one of the big tips in the WNBA, folks. Tim, we're going to wrap this up. What can people expect the first couple of weeks here with our WNBA program in terms of volume? Because it should be
In,
low.
in terms of volume, opening day for the first time, and as long as I don't want to say as long as I've been doing this, but for as long as I've been doing this, in at least the past 4 or 5 years, normally there's one game on opening day.
Yeah.
We have 4 games on opening day.
Yeah.
I would say on opening day and heading into that week, I would say expect a either 1 4 unit best bet on opening day, or a 4-unit top play, so to speak, even though it's not really considered a top play. It'll be our top
Yeah.
play. A
Yeah.
4-unit game of the day, and then a 3-unit total. I think what you can expect, and I'll keep this short here, but what you can expect for us, Tony, in the opening week, until and I have it figured out, but as you know, it takes me a week or two, and anybody a week or two, to really kind of figure out. And like we said, how's BG going to do? Mentally, how is Elena Deladon going to hold up health wise? How are the LA Sparks going to come together in terms of a group? Are the Connecticut Sun really fallen as far as I personally think they've fallen? Is Seattle as bad as I think they are? Things like that. So what we're going to do a lot of, Tony, and you saw this from me last year, and you saw this from me a lot in the beginning, and you saw it from me a lot at the end. We're going to do a lot of first half ATS against the spread and first half totals in the first week. And like I said, we're going to try to hit you with a bunch of little paper cuts, build ourselves a bankroll, just like we did last year, play with the house money, and then from there, within about 2.5 weeks, put out that first 6 or 7 unit top play and really continue to hopefully pick off where we did last year. Nobody puts in, I'm not, like Tony said earlier, I'm not hyping myself up, not patting myself on the back. Nobody does more work and research in the WNBA than I do. I put my heart and soul into this. I give it everything I have. When you get a play from myself and Tony, I assure you there's not one fiber left in my tank that I did not give you as a client. And we're gonna do well, but that's what you can expect from us for the first week. A lot of first half plays, a lot of smaller units, and then about week 2 we'll start to ramp it up.
Yeah, we crushed those first half lines last year. Crushed them. So folks, be sure and pay attention. Over at DocSports.com, the website, the 2023 WNBA season tips on Friday the 19th. We'll have some picks out for you. And there are days that we will pass. Have no doubt about it. I pass in the NBA, Major League. I don't pass in football, but a lot of these daily sports I will pass on. We don't like something. Our goal is not to put up something to sell. Our goal is to put up something to make you money. Win, lose, or draw, you're getting our best shot. So be sure and get over to DocSports.com. We'll have Tim back mid-season to do a checkup on what he thinks is going on. Maybe around the All-Star break would be a good time, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at the second half and give you kind of a mid-season projection and a review, good, bad, or indifferent. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. Tim, I appreciate you coming on, buddy.
And I appreciate you too, Tony. And when we have that little chat and All-Star break, remember, the Atlanta Dream, they're circled. I can't wait to brag on that one on All-Star Week, baby.
There you go, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Get over to DocSports.com. WNBA right around the corner. We couldn't be more excited. 64% last year against the spread is some big shoes to fill. But I will tell you, I got the horse here that's up for the challenge. So come over and see us.
Appreciate that, Tony.
You bet. Good luck on all your sports betting, and be sure and check out DocSports.com and that free $60. Best damn sports handicapping website on the planet, folks. Thanks for tuning in.